Okay, I'd like to call to order the special meeting of the Glendale City Council for November 19th, 2013 at 4:05 p.m. May we have roll call?
Council members: Friedman.
Here.
Najarian. Here. Quintero.
Here.
Sinanian.
Here.
Mayor Weaver.
Here. Do we have your report?
The agenda for the November 19, 2013 special public meeting of the City Council was posted on Thursday, November 14th, 2013 on the bulletin board outside City Hall. Before you today is the Chief Information Officer for the City regarding purchase of 5 one-year terms for Microsoft software licenses. 1A is a motion authorizing execution of purchase order with CompuCom Systems, Inc. in the amount of $3,935,168 and contingency of $590,275. 1B is a resolution appropriating $905,088 to fund the Microsoft Enterprise Agreement.
Go ahead.
Let me ask City Manager, would you like me to read all?
Read them all. Read them all in.
Item 2 is Chief Information Officer regarding installation and configuration of new server and storage equipment. 2A is motion authorizing execution of purchase order with Dell Marketing LP in the amount of $326,208 and contingency of $32,621. 2B is a resolution appropriating $358,829 to fund the project. Item 3 is Chief Information Officer regarding purchase of phone switching system. 3A is motion authorizing execution of purchase order with NEC Corporation of America in the amount of $100,798 and contingency of $10,080. 3B is a resolution appropriating $110,878 to fund the project.
These are all kind of semi-related, so Mr. Ochoa.
Yes, sir. We are bringing these 3 items together before you because they help tell a story, and we'll give you a high-level review from the point of view of our new CIO, Brian Ganley, who's presenting essentially a 6-month assessment of where the Information Services Department is and ultimately where it needs to go. By way of preface, I can tell you that sometimes, most of the time, the size of this organization is a positive. It assures that we have a number of resources, sometimes enough, sometimes not quite enough, as you just dealt with under the CDBG question, but oftentimes we have barely enough to do what we need to do, and that provides a higher level of service or facilitates a higher level of service for our residents and businesses. On the other hand, sometimes our size can be a detriment because it allows us or even forces us to be more inwardly focused, and sometimes our departmental operations exist in a vacuum. That, I think, was the story of ISD over the previous 15 years, where our department was focused primarily on a number of technologies and tools as opposed to systems, and perhaps the strategic focus and framework was not as readily available at critical junctures. Thus, we are here before you to give you the, as I say, the 6-month assessment, but at the same time set the stage for a strategic planning effort that will articulate a vision about where we need to be as an organization that is a $700 million ongoing concern with nearly 1,600 employees serving a population of nearly 200,000 investors. So what we want to do is present to you this notion of the department as evolved through the eyes of a chief information officer that is equal parts executive manager and technological leader and visionary for the organization. With that, I will turn it over to Mr. Ganley to walk you through this presentation. We'll get into as much detail as you wish.
Just a little reflection. I think the technology field is evolving at warp speed now, far greater than when I taught myself Fortran back in the mid-'60s. I soon lost track of the, not like I said, it's warp speed now. You have to be continually knowledgeable what's going on in the upgrade and replacement of equipment. It's like no other industry that I know. So with that, Mr.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you, Mr. Ochoa. I have a brief presentation this afternoon. As Mr. Ochoa mentioned, tomorrow will be my 6-month anniversary here at the city.
And you're still here.
And I'm still here and enjoying it. To reference your remarks, the warp speed that the industry moves at is part of what makes it exciting for a lot of us who choose that as a career. And I certainly enjoy that. Here to talk about the historical overview of the department and our mission statement. Mr. Ochoa gave a brief introduction to that. The strategic framework of today, current projects, immediate needs. The immediate needs are the three items that we're here presenting for consideration today. Intermediate needs, budgetary considerations, best management practices. Finally, with next steps, and then question and answers. Historical overview, past technology efforts. I think Mr. Ochoa spoke towards this. Technology in the city has evolved in a decentralized fashion. Each department for quite some time was responsible for its own technology needs and purchases. And I think that resulted in a little bit of a fractured and lack of centralized focus and strategic planning in some cases. My predecessor, Mr. Frega, did a nice job beginning the centralization of some of those efforts, and I'm building on that with the department today. Rebooting our perspective speaks to our mission statement. ISD's mission statement to provide leadership in information technology with a focus on providing strategic direction on technology issues while responsibly managing the city's technology infrastructure and applications and maintaining the highest level of reliable service to the community. So key focuses there for the department are customer service and a unified strategic direction for the city and the various technology needs that we have that, as you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, do move at warp speed. Our strategic goals for fiscal year 13-14, I'll do a brief review of these 4 goals that were presented as part of the budget process earlier this year. Develop specifications for migration to Tier 2 Management Information System and conduct RFP/RFQ process with finance. Complete construction of the INET replacement. Complete transition and department reorganization, and complete and adopt the IT strategic plan. These will lead into the items that we're presenting for consideration today. Migration to Tier 2 system. This is essentially looking at PeopleSoft. PeopleSoft and Oracle provide the city's financial system, HR, payroll, and several other functions throughout the city. We issued a request for information on October 18th. We've received 4 responses to that we're evaluating now, and we expect to bring one of those back to council probably in January. The proposal is to conduct a detailed assessment of PeopleSoft costs and functionality versus alternatives. Tier 2 refers to a class of software that may be less expensive than what we pay now for PeopleSoft, but also may be less functional. So the purpose of that study will be to analyze what costs we have now with what capabilities versus what costs we might be able to save with a different system and what functionality we might lose, and find where those two things come together and make the most sense.
Whereas the city has spent a great deal of time and effort on a highly specified program that we have today, that we may not need all of that capability to do what we do. We are not a Fortune 500 company that has a need and a demand for all of the bells and whistles that the system today could currently or conceivably offer. We need something that's more adaptable to government use.
The result of this process will be an RFP based on the assessment, and that'll be issued in mid-2014. We'll be back to council at that time for your consideration of that process. Complete the INET replacement. Council awarded the bid back in September. It's a joint project between ISD and GWP. We'll be replacing 12.5 miles of fiber, touching over 400 telephone poles. We estimate completion in May 2014. The great news on this is significant cost savings once we complete this project. We currently pay approximately $65,000 a month for fiber that does not belong to the city. Once we complete this project, that cost will be not necessary any longer, and it'll take just over a year to recover that cost. Complete the transition and reorganization of ISD. We're focusing on customer service and efficiencies. Efficiencies would refer to things like what Mr. Ochoa and I spoke about with PeopleSoft and many other things. We've made some initial organizational changes in supervision to improve customer service and communication, and we're continuing to assess departmental strengths and weaknesses as an internal service function. complete the IT strategic plan, and this really gets into the items that we're here to discuss today. We'll be launching our IT strategic plan process in the next month. It will include a voice of the user survey. That'll be a web-based survey that'll go out to every user and employee of the city. We'll be asking for feedback on the level of service that we provide, the technology that's in use. That'll give us input from every employee and every department on how to move forward. We'll be analyzing the governance of the department, our service delivery, customer service, our application support, security, infrastructure, our documentation, and our administration. Administration would cover things like purchasing. We work closely with finance, but I think there's some ways internally in ISD that we can speed up replacement of hardware and deployment of technology throughout the organization, and I'll be talking about some of those in just a moment or two. Identification of immediate needs is very important, but more so the long-term technology strategic plan that we're building towards and maintaining on a regular basis. Current projects, I wanted to mention just a couple that don't fall within the strategic objectives of the department. The website upgrade is going live in January. We'll be back before the council to show that once it's built and a little bit closer to launch. It was designed by a cross-departmental team of people from, I think, 9 departments across the city. At the same time, we plan to change the address that the city uses on the internet for both the website and email to glendaleca.gov. Please don't try this today. It's not working yet. But when we launch the website, we will launch it as www.glendaleca.gov. We will also add email addresses for all city staff. That would be the first initial last name that it is today at glendaleca.gov. I would say, just to head off any questions, we'll still maintain the ci.glendale.ca.us, both website address and email addresses that we have today. So that transition will be very smooth, very seamless, will not result in any need to do any quick and expensive replacement of stationery or anything else. So we'll maintain that seamless transition for most likely several years or more. I think that this will be much easier to communicate and remember and do some branding from. This is the first time this has been shown publicly. This is a draft, a mock-up of what the new website will look like. If you can actually read any of the text, it's gibberish. I think it's Latin, actually. But this is a mock-up of what it'll look like. You can see it's beautiful, striking difference between this and the website that we have today. Down on the bottom, some large buttons for some of the technology that's important today, streaming, social media, and then much easier ways for the community to get access to the information that they need and seek out the most on the city's website. Immediate needs, these are the 3 items that I'm here to discuss today. A police department server upgrade, a telephone system upgrade, and a Microsoft software licensing agreement. The police server upgrade. At the police department, aging servers there are approaching their end of life. We're proposing to upgrade those servers with new technology that allows increased reliability and a reduced number of servers. A server is a computer that does one function for the employees at the police department. So we have about 40 servers there now doing different functions for staff. We're going to consolidate that into 3 servers. So we're going to save quite a bit of money, quite a bit of power over time, air conditioning cost. We're going to have increased reliability because those 3 servers can manage those 40 functions over any 2 of the 3 servers. This is what Mayor Weaver mentioned as technology going at warp speed. It's a different way of supplying technology.
Just an insert. Back in '69, Corps of Engineers had a Bendix computer, and it filled a whole room on a wood slab floor with the temperature maintained at 68 degrees or something. Filled the whole room.
Things have changed dramatically over time, and things have changed dramatically since most of the servers that we put in at police department roughly 8 to 10 years ago were installed. So we'll be doing this in a more modern way that will allow quite a bit more reliability and ease of management for our ISD staff. Finally, the new 3 servers will allow rapid deployment of new applications and technology, which is very important at the police department and throughout the city. Telephone system upgrade. One of the items we're asking for today is a upgrade of the telephone system in the Perkins building here at the city's civic campus. This will improve support and reliability. It supports new equipment and expansion of new phone lines and services. It also supports older legacy equipment that we already have on our desks. This will allow us to consolidate 3 older systems that currently exist at City Hall, at Perkins, and at the Municipal Service Building onto a single new system. Will be improved reliability, easier maintenance and support, and allow us to expand as needed. A Microsoft server upgrade. Finally, the last item that we're bringing before you today is a 5-year enterprise licensing agreement. This agreement reduces costs by eliminating duplicate purchases and offsets other costs like antivirus and spam filtering. I want to remark on that for just a moment. In the past, when we bought new computers for city staff, we purchase a copy of Microsoft Office with each computer. When that computer is old and is time to be replaced, we will surplus that and we'll buy a new computer with another copy of Office. This will allow us to eliminate duplicate purchases like that and maintain a fleet of Microsoft Office licenses so that we no longer have to buy those with each computer that we purchase. This will reduce the cost of replacing computers by roughly 20% and allow us to do that more quickly and more effectively. Standardized, consistent versions of software. One of the biggest comments that I've heard in visiting and gathering feedback from the various departments throughout the city is that we run many different versions of Windows and of Office. It makes it very difficult for staff to collaborate on an older version and a newer version while preparing documents, spreadsheets, presentations. This agreement will allow us to standardize that and keep everyone on the same current version of that software. Automation and other tools for improved services. I mentioned at the police department we will consolidate 40 different functions from 40 computers onto 3 computers. Part of the key technology there is the ability of those 3 computers to juggle those 40 different functions at any given time, depending on which of those 40 are in demand. And the software and licensing to do that is included in this Microsoft software agreement. Microsoft software agreements are commonly held by cities our size, including Burbank, Pasadena, the City of Los Angeles, and the County of Los Angeles, and others. I do want to comment that at the 5-year end of contract, if and when we decide to renew, the ongoing costs would be significantly lower. It's this initial contract that restores those current versions, no matter how old our software is now, that is a little bit more expensive to bring us up to current standards. Maintaining that once we're there at the end of that 5-year cycle will be much less expensive. There are some additional benefits of doing a contract like this. One of them is e-learning. Microsoft provides electronic training online for all of our staff, an unlimited amount of training. As we work with the change that this requires from staff, training is critical. And this is a very valuable benefit. And finally, home use for Microsoft Office will be able to provide a custom website where city staff will be able to purchase a personal copy of Microsoft Office for $10 for installation at home. This is not only a great benefit for personal use, but is also a help for city purposes as staff become more familiar with the same products at home and are able to move documents back and forth. Intermediate needs. These are items that we're not ready to bring before you today, but I wanted to give you a brief list of these that will be coming back before council over the next few months. Completing the phone system upgrade at City Hall and the Municipal Services Building. Today's item will allow us to upgrade the central phone system at the Perkins Building, and we'll be coming back to City Council for approval to do the additional phones and upgrades that are needed to consolidate City Hall and the Municipal Services Building onto that new phone system once we have that installed and in place. We were not ready with the competitive bidding process and some of the design to bring that before you today, but we'll be back soon to do that. The Perkins Data Center upgrade, the City Hall primary data center is about 200 servers, about 5 times as large as the Police Department data center, and we need to do a similar technology upgrade there. Also expecting to bring that back in early 2014. A security assessment, we're working with internal audit to perform a security assessment of all IT systems. It's considered an IT best practice to do a security assessment once every 2 years. And then on an ongoing basis to perform improvements and correct any deficiencies found. I think the city's doing the standard things that we would expect our organization to be doing, but security also moves at potentially even faster than warp speed. And to stay on top of it requires an assessment like this and ongoing effort. Networking equipment upgrades, replace and upgrade equipment nearing end of life for improved reliability and services. We should be bringing this back before you in January. We weren't quite ready for today. In today's online world, the networking equipment is what makes the internet, the cloud, all of those services work. We have some aging equipment there that will be coming back looking to replace in the near future. An email upgrade, this is very exciting, relies on the Perkins Data Center upgrade, which needs to happen first. We'll bring our aging email system up to current technology to better support mobile devices, wireless calendaring, to really discuss how all of these pieces go together, as Mayor Weaver mentioned. When we're able to do the email upgrade and we've done the phone system upgrade, we'll be able to offer our employees something called unified communications. That means if you were to call me right now, I would not know that you called until I'm back to my desk and I see the light on my phone, and then I can hear the voicemail that you may have left. With unified communications, we bring email and phones together so that if I receive a phone call at my desk, I'll be notified on my smartphone. I'll receive that message on my smartphone. It'll tell me who called, and it will transcribe the message so I can see what they said, all without having to return to my desk and listen to that voicemail. So those are some of the technologies that some of this is going to bring forth. Online services such as e-permitting and technology upgrades for the community. I've discussed a couple of these already with the new website that we'll be launching in January. We're also working on Wi-Fi upgrades at the library, running fiber to the Adams Square Library, and working with Hassan in community development on e-permitting to bring quite a few online permitting features to the community that we've been discussing with Mr. Hagani and his constituency. Budgetary considerations. We'll return to Council in spring 2014 with the results of the strategic plan and a budget plan as well. We have funding in internal service fund balances, and that will be used to fund as much as possible of these improvements, and we may borrow money internally if we need to do that. We're investing in these items to achieve customer service improvements and efficiencies that I've talked about. This could cost an additional $6 to $10 million. That really will be much more finely detailed at the conclusion of the strategic plan. And the needs and priorities are the focus of that strategic plan, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. Best management practices. The initial strategic plan will identify future needs over the next 5 years. I think it's important to point out that the strategic plan is a living document. So we won't do a 5-year plan and wait 5 years to update that. We'll do a strategic plan every year looking 5 years forward. And that normalized cycle means on an ongoing basis we'll continuously be working to maintain and improve technology without falling behind. Next steps. We have today the approval of the immediate needs, the police server upgrades, the telephone system upgrade, and the Microsoft software licensing agreement. The consideration of the intermediate needs that I've discussed that we'll be bringing back to Council in the near future, and the completion of the ISD strategic goals through the remainder of this fiscal year. If Council concurs, the appropriate actions would be the following motions. And I'm here to answer any questions along with the administrators from the department, Eric Brum, Hago Pavsepian, and Steve Ronick.
Questions? Yes,
I'd
Mr.
just like to state that I do own some Dell stock, and I see that item 1, or item 2 actually, involves the purchase of Dell servers in the amount of $326,000. So Mr. Garcia is currently checking the status of my conflict.
It'd probably take me a while because part of the materiality standards probably.
Okay, I'll probably abstain from that.
Yeah, that'd be my recommendation.
But I have another question. So what are you packing in terms of the smartphone?
Phone-wise,
What is that?
this is a Samsung Galaxy S4.
Okay,
Good man.
is there an effort to unify? I know we used to be on the BlackBerry platform, or maybe we still are.
Yes, we are.
But BlackBerry's future is
Dismal.
becoming dimmer. And does the migration away from that platform to another platform constitute a significant expense for us, or just does the nature of our usage give us a benefit or subsidy on the new devices?
We do operate under Verizon Wireless's government contract, and we are actively discussing the possible need to migrate off of BlackBerry at some point in the future. We also supply city staff with Android devices, not the Galaxy S4, but the Motorola's, and we are prepared to do that migration very quickly if need be. We're monitoring BlackBerry's status very closely. I agree their future is questionable.
So by the time Galaxy S6s comes out, we can get the S4 very cheaply, right?
We have some excellent pricing opportunities. We have, I believe, about 130 BlackBerry devices left, and it would not be a significant expense to transition very quickly off of those devices. The biggest problem is that people using BlackBerries really enjoy the keyboards.
I have to pry it from my cold hand. No, actually, I have a iPhone that I think's a lot better.
Any other questions? Well, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Mayor,
Oh,
I want to ask
no.
the city attorney, I have a 401k plan. I don't know what's in there. I mean, it's managed by Northwest Mutual. I mean, I don't
We don't have
necessarily
Problem.
decide what they should buy or not.
Right, and usually the conflict rules apply to direct investments in a particular company, so I think
Thank
yeah, in that case, when you're not controlling it and you don't have the say in what gets invested, it doesn't apply. As far as the potential on Councilmember Najarian, the standards depend on how big the company is, how big the investment is, what kind of stock exchange is exchanged. I can't do that analysis right now, so my suggestion is to
Just
recuse
abstain.
yourself on item 2.
Wouldn't you say it's safe that, Mr. Najarian, the city's purchase is not going to drive the price of Dell stock up?
I do believe that, yes. But
Because I would put money, I'm not, I am not a stockbroker, but I would actually put money on it.
I'd say that's safe, but just out of abundance of caution, I suggest on item 2 that you step out, we take that item, and then you come back and we can vote on the other items.
Can we do 1 and 3 first?
No, it's better to take item 2 first.
I have a question. So many companies are moving to the cloud. Salesforce.com, as we know, is a big one. Will we be doing that in the future? Obviously, perhaps not for police files, but for so many other activities.
I think it's safe to say, yes, we will. To some extent, we already do. There are some cloud services included in the Microsoft software agreement, such as spam filtering. Safer and better to do that in the cloud before that email even gets to us here at the city. I know the library is currently working on a project to replace their library information system, and they're looking at cloud options there. We looked at cloud options. We examine the option of the cloud with every project that we do at this point. And I think over time, it's likely that more and more of them will be moving to the cloud.
And when we do that, would we move to one major source like Salesforce, or would we, each individual library might find a better service for its needs? And
I think it would be a number of different solutions. The needs of the city are so complex and so diverse that I don't think any one provider would be able to provide all of those things. So what's happening more is the companies that provide solutions today that have been more traditional solutions are migrating their own solutions to the cloud. And as those companies become prepared to offer those solutions, we look at those.
Okay, if there's no more questions.
One more question.
Yes, Mr.
On
Nania.
item 1A, it's a purchase order for Microsoft licenses, but we're buying through CompuCom? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Why CompuCom? Are there other companies that do the same thing?
There are a number of other companies that do that. We're using a competitively bid contract that the County of Riverside did. And there were 5 respondents to their contract process, including CompuCom. We don't have the option of buying directly from Microsoft, and CompuCom is one of the resellers that does this under that competitively bid contract.
And I know it's a competitively bid group pool, I guess, under Riverside County.
Correct.
Does LA County have one? Would we have gotten a better deal if we looked at there? I mean,
Not to my knowledge. The County of Riverside's contract is typically used by municipalities and agencies statewide.
thank you.
Okay, if there's no more,
I'm prepared to move the items.
wait up. You want us to move 2 first?
Item 2A and B, please, Mr. Mayor.
I will
The motion
move
on 2A and B.
2A and B, 2A and 2B.
Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, roll call.
Council members Friedman,
Yes.
Najarian, Quintero,
Yes.
Sinanian,
Yes.
Mayor Weaver.
Aye. And now you can bring back our council member. Okay, is there a motion on 1A and B?
I will move 1A and 1B.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Council members Friedman,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Sinanian,
Yes.
Mayor Weaver.
Aye. And 3A and B.
I'll move 3A and 3B.
Second?
Roll call.
Council members Friedman,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Sinanian,
Yes.
Mayor Weaver.
Aye. Thank you for a nice,
Thank you.
concise report, and go forth at warp speed. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn for the council?
So moved.
Second?
We stand adjourned at 4:37, and we'll recess to closed session for the